Hello everyone, welcome to Highways and Hilltops with Charlie and Jodi. This is episode 9, Olympic National Park, day 2.
Yeah, we're glad you came back for day 2 in Olympic National Park. If you missed episode 8, you're going to want to be sure and go back and check that one out because that was day 1 in Olympic National Park and we covered a lot of ground in day 1. We did the Hoh Rainforest, Ruby Beach, Forks, Washington, yep, that's the Twilight Town, and Rialto Beach. We talked about giant driftwood and giant trees and all kinds of things.
You know, one thing I didn't know when we were in this area, I wish I had looked for it. Next time we go back, I will. But there's some great fishing in this area. Coho salmon, steelhead, cutthroat trout, really famous area. And the fish were really, really big. So I don't have a lot of details on that. But if you are going, it's worth a good search because the fishing is fantastic.
Yeah, I think for sure we need to go back and spend some time here. 2 days just wasn't enough.
Not at all.
When we started this road trip idea and Weston said, hey, we should go to Olympic, and neither one of us had really done any research on it. We were just kind of going off of what he said and what he had seen on social media from other people that have visited the park. But for sure, I think we could go. I think we could have a great time up here if we had a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the way we go about doing this, we only have about 3 weeks every year. So we have to kind of hit the highlights and come back and hit them again. So
I think we're going to these places and checking them out to see if we want to spend more time there. And definitely, I think this is a place where we could spend maybe even a whole summer one of these days.
Well, it does add a little variety. If you really were going to try to see everything in all these places, nobody has that kind of time, right? So the fun thing is we get to go back. And so now every time we go, it's a little better. And every time we go, we learn a little bit more. And, makes it fun.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now we're going to go on to day 2 in Olympic National Park. And on this trip, we only had 2 days here. And if you were with us on episode 8, you know that we made the most of day 1. We were burning up the road, running from place to place. We saw the rainforest and the beaches and the mountains, and it was just pretty crazy, but it was so much fun.
Yep, so first stop on day 2, Hurricane Ridge. It's 17 miles from Port Angeles. So Hurricane Ridge Road is open year-round. It is impacted by weather, and Friday through Sunday, it's in the winter, it's open for snow skiing.
Yeah, so you're going to want to make sure that you check for road closures, especially if you're going to be there in the winter months. I'll put a link in the show notes for you. There's also one back in the episode 8 show notes and the phone number that you can call to check road conditions for Olympic National Park at any time. I did read that if you're going to be driving up to Hurricane Ridge Road in the wintertime, that it does require chains and that it is really susceptible to hurricane force wind, hence the name Hurricane Ridge. So on days of high wind and bad weather, they will close it down just for everyone's safety.
The drive has a lot of twists and turns. It's steep.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few tunnels that are pretty neat on there that are actually built through the mountains. It's not too terribly narrow, but it is one of those places that's going to gain a lot of elevation and it's going to have lots of views. So for the driver on this one, you're kind of watching the road again. Seems like on the way up, the passenger is on the inside at least, so it doesn't feel quite as treacherous. Of course, on the way back down, it's just the opposite of that. But I remember guardrails, lots of good stuff up here. It wasn't too terribly dangerous or anything like that. It did gain a lot of elevation.
Yeah, it did. And it wasn't too scary on the passenger side for this road. I remember there were quite a few blind curves because you are twisting around the mountain, and a lot of bicyclists on this road in the summertime.
A lot of bicyclists, and there was buses on this road.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like some charters that coming up and some different shuttles and things like that. Once you get up to the top of this, you come into a big parking lot. Really, really nice. There used to be a big information center or gift shop up there.
Mm-hmm.
It actually has burned down.
Yep.
And it looks like they're rebuilding that. But right there where that shop was, the views are just amazing. I don't remember having too much trouble getting a parking space. And you start your hike right out of the parking lot.
Yeah, you do. As for those tunnels on that road to Hurricane Ridge, I looked to see if there was a height restriction, and I couldn't find one. We didn't have any problem in our van, and it's 9 foot 7 inches, something like that.
It won't go in a 10-foot door, that's for sure. So it's somewhere above 10, 11 feet. It's pretty tall. Your normal vehicles shouldn't have any troubles.
I did read that beyond that parking lot, you can't take RVs.
This parking lot's got lots of good places, but it wouldn't be a place that I would want to turn around with a fifth wheel or something like that.
Definitely. Speaking of that shuttle bus, I did read that the shuttle runs from the town of Port Angeles all the way up to Hurricane Ridge. It's $1 to ride it one way. So if you're going to ride it up and then hike down, or ride it up and start a hike there and end somewhere else and have someone else pick you up, it costs $1. It's $2 if you want to ride it round trip. Now, here's what I don't know. I don't know if they wait a few hours or if you just have to catch a shuttle up and a shuttle down. For those types of things, you'll need to get on the website and read about the shuttle information, but I'll put a link to that in the show notes for you. This also might be a good idea during the busy season because I did read, even though the parking lot up at Hurricane Ridge does have 175 parking spots, which seems like a lot, it does get full. And on the National Park Service website, it says that wait times in the peak months from June to September can be up to 2 hours waiting in your car to get into the Hurricane Ridge area.
You know, the elevation here is 5,242 feet. It seems much higher.
Yeah, it does. I wonder if that's because everything you're looking at is also elevated. So it feels like you're on top of the world up there.
It does. It really feels like you're a lot higher than you are.
Yeah, and it was so beautiful. Beautiful views of the Bailey Mountain Range, of the Olympic Mountains. And on clear days, like when we were there, you can even see the peak of Mount Olympus. So that was really cool. It's funny because when we first got there, it was very clear. And I got some beautiful pictures. Of course, since the lodge burned down, what you would have been standing in the lodge looking at, you're just standing at the parking lot looking at, and there's nothing blocking your view. So that's really, really beautiful. And I got some great photos of the Bailey Mountain Range and Mount Olympus and all of that, which was still snow covered. And this was early July when we were there, I think July 1st.
You know, when you're looking out toward Mount Olympus and those different mountains, they do seem lower, so it makes it feel really, really high. But also it might have a lot to do with the wind. It's pretty windy up there, right? You get those mountain winds, which is pretty nice, especially up there in the summer.
The sun is also fairly close to you. It seems close.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I remember is there's some staff up there. There's some bathrooms up there. I think there was a couple of rangers. Usually you find those rangers where there's animals. And we did see a lot of, deer and different things up there. So
we did.
It's almost like, it's kind of funny. It's like you're on a mountain, but there's meadows leading up to it. And that apparently the deer really like those flowers and those different things.
Yeah, and I think they call that a visitor contact station. So, they're manning that parking lot. When it gets full, they're going to stop traffic and let some people leave before they let a few more people in. Also, the restrooms up there right now, of course, are porta potties because the lodge burned down. They have water for sale though up there. It is elevation, so you're going to want to drink plenty of water. And they have park information and park maps available up there as well. Speaking of the Hurricane Ridge Visitor Center, it's really kind of sad that that visitor center burned down. It looked really beautiful in the pictures that I saw of it. It was 12,000 square feet, so it was a pretty sizable visitor center, and it burned down in May of 2023 and was a complete loss. So when we were there in July of 2024, all of the debris was gone and it was just a concrete pad out there. From what I understand, there are plans to rebuild that visitor center, but none of that reconstruction phase was taking place when we were there.
That was originally built in 1950. Any of those that are built like that, like Yellowstone's got the old lodge, and they're just really neat to see. So it is kind of a shame.
It is a shame. It was being renovated at the time of the fire, and I know that fire was under investigation, and I don't know what ever came of it. But really, really sad that was a total loss.
They'll get that thing rebuilt, and the cool thing about it is it's kind of on a bluff. And I can just imagine being in there looking through the glass out across the mountains. And I believe that's the view that goes toward Mount Olympic, right?
I think so.
And so all of the things that's always surprised me about those elevations is you start getting the bear grass and the lilies, and kind of funny. It's like a prairie like we're used to seeing. But at a higher elevation, it just turns into flowers.
Yeah, those alpine meadows are beautiful. Speaking of those, we did see avalanche lilies and bear grass. Remember, we talked about bear grass from Glacier National Park. So if you've been with us since episode 1, you heard us talk about the bear grass and even saw some pictures of the bear grass. that we had taken at Glacier National Park, and Beargrass is also at Olympic. So Beargrass loves the alpine meadow. It's funny because when you're driving to the top of those mountains, you think it's just going to be rocky and bare up there, but that's not the case.
Not at all. The Beargrass is really kind of cool because it looks like popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to spot.
It does.
The first time we were told to look for it, they said, look for something that looks like popcorn, and that's exactly what it looks like.
Yep.
And then the lilies, it looks like a white lily, but yet it has the popcorn in the center of the flower.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something about that those animals really like. It must be sweet or something like that, but they really get after those alpine, or what do you want to call them, the big meadow plants up there.
Yeah. So from the visitor center parking lot, the trails are really easy to navigate here at Hurricane Ridge. Where we were at, where the old visitor center sat, of course, there's lots of trails as you go up along this road, but the ones that we went to were the Big Meadow Loop and the High Ridge Trail that went up to Sunrise Point. The good news about the Big Meadow Loop is it is a wide, paved, beautiful walking surface, and it's also wheelchair accessible with assistance. I believe that's because there is a little bit of an elevation gain.
They couldn't have laid this out any better. So you get out of the parking lot and you go just kind of south. You just step right off into the sidewalk, and it goes right up to this sidewalk spot and this lookout spot. And from there's a trail that goes left and one that goes right. The one that goes left is a Big Meadow Loop. It's just a real easy hike. And that's the one we're talking about that they say is wheelchair accessible. And then on the right, there's the High Ridge Trail. The High Ridge Trail is kind of neat too. Well, let me back up a little bit. I enjoyed the Meadow Loop because as we walked down through there, every time we turned a corner, it seemed like we were seeing some kind of animal, a black-tailed deer or something like that. If you remember right, we hiked down there a little ways. We got off into the trees, and some deer crossed in front of us. Mm-hmm. And then we hiked on a little farther and come around a corner, and they come across in front of us again. So it's kind of fun to see them there. Seems like there's a lot of mamas out there with babies up in that area.
Yeah, that doe had twins, remember?
Because there's so much to eat right there. And then after we finished hiking that side, we went to the other side, which is a High Ridge Trail. Now this one, it's a pretty good easy hike for a while, then it begins to step up. And it's kind of like, it's got steps in there and a little bit more of a hike. I remember huffing and puffing on this one a little bit, but as you go to the top of this one, there's a big plateau up there, and when you get up there, you can see for miles. And I think that's the big draw to that one, is being able to see. Do you remember about halfway up that trail when we seen the ski lifts?
Yes, the old broken down ski lifts.
Yeah, there's no telling. They might have been put in 1950 as well, but they had the cables still running up and down the hill, and it was back when they made the ski lifts with those great big round pulleys. Mm-hmm. And then they just had these big blocks that were set in the ground, and they were chained to these pulleys. It was really kind of neat to see. Yeah,
so if you do choose to go to Hurricane Ridge for winter activities, do know that there's not a working ski lift there.
No,
there's no way that thing works.
This was just left there. I don't think there's any way that's ever going to... It's just left there to see. It's kind of neat to see.
It was really cool to see. The National Park Service website does say that in the winter you can ski, you can snowboard, and you can even do some snow tubing up there in the wintertime. So.
Yeah, we didn't completely figure that one out, but it looks like to me as you're driving up to this parking area, you're going to ski down probably to another little parking area. So it's probably one of those deals where you leave a vehicle at the bottom and have one at the top. It's kind of, without a lift. But did you notice it had a ski patrol there?
I did. A cute little cabin. I noticed the cute little cabin first, and then I saw the sign.
It looked like something out of an alpine village or whatever.
And then I saw the sign for ski patrol. I could just imagine it with deep snow all around it, because if you're going to ski off of those hills that we were looking at, or those mountains we were looking at, there's got to be a lot of snow up there.
It always amazes me when we go see places that you skied, and you go back in the summertime and you look at them and you think, wow, we skied off of that. And this is one of those no joke ski off deals. It was really, really pretty in the summer, but you see all the rocks and things like that get covered up by the snow when you're snow skiing in there. But this would be a serious little ski out, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. On that High Ridge Trail, if you do need wheelchair accessibility, you can go for about a quarter mile up that trail before it turns to dirt. And it also connects to the Loop Meadow Trail. So it's kind of a big loop over to the, I do left and right. So from the parking lot, when you walk up the trail and you go off to the left, there's a loop. That's the Loop Meadow Trail. Like Charlie mentioned, you kind of walk in through these trees, and It makes it feel really secluded. It's not, but it feels that way. And it's kind of fun thinking that you could walk around any turn and there be a black bear, because the black bears do also hang out at Hurricane Ridge. That was not the case the day we were there. We didn't see any black bears on this trip, but we did see the mom, black-tailed deer, the doe, and her babies, her twin babies.
Yeah, in this area there are some black bears. We didn't see any of them. Here's the neat thing about black bears. We talk about grizzlies a lot, but the black bears are really not that aggressive. So much so that they don't even recommend bear spray up here, right? Mm-hmm. They just say, look, it's a black bear. Stay back. Don't feed them. Stay at least 150 feet away, or 4 bus lengths, I guess. Don't approach them. They're shy and less aggressive than grizzlies. Enjoy them from a distance. I think that we even beginning to see bears in Oklahoma, right? So it's becoming a lot more common. So not a lot to worry about up here. You can enjoy it. And really, there's not a bad spot on it. If you were in a wheelchair and you came out of the parking lot up there to that loop, you would see about everything that everybody else would.
Oh, the views are
views for miles, right?
Mm-hmm. The views are amazing. And there were plenty of benches, too. If you need to take a rest, I did like that about this park in particular, and these trails in particular. Even when we got up to the flat part of the High Ridge Trail, there were benches up there and like stumps you could sit on. And we saw a marmot up there, remember? So that was kind of fun.
And we've seen black-tailed deer on both trails.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to count how many we actually seen, but it was several. And they're the same way, right? They're kind of used to visitors a little bit. They're really intent on grazing in those places. So
remember we saw that young buck when we were walking back down the High Ridge Trail, and he was laid in that tree line and didn't seem to care that lots of people were stopping and taking pictures of him. And I mean, he was 20-30 yards away from us, but he was just taking a nap, and he was still in velvet. I love to see their antlers in velvet. So pretty.
So much so that I think this is why the ranger spends a lot of time there. They want them to be kind of left alone, and they want to keep everybody safe. As a matter of fact, when we came back out of there, right up against the parking lot, we had deer up there too, right? And they had them they even had an area kind of ribboned off because they knew they liked to lay in that valley.
Yep, they did.
So you could walk right by them, see all the black-tailed deer, which, if you haven't seen a black-tailed deer, they're a little different than our whitetail we're used to seeing. They're kind of somewhere between a mule deer and a whitetail. They have the big ears, they have the black tips, they have the black tail, of course. But when you first look at them, you think you might be looking at a whitetail, but there's something different about them. They're bigger, they're colored differently. But anyway, lots to see right here in this one little compact area, and lots of views.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really hard for me to tell the difference in a mule deer and a black-tailed deer. I have even been on the internet trying to search it out, and it's just hard to tell the difference. But if you go look at the Hurricane Ridge information, they do say that black-tailed deer frequent the area. So I'm assuming that those deer that we saw were black-tailed deer.
So next up, we're leaving Hurricane Ridge, and we're heading to Sawduck Falls. This is a must-see. We drove an hour and 42 minutes to get there. This is probably my favorite place in this whole area.
Yeah, mine too. Man, if you're going to Olympic National Park, you have to go walk this trail.
Must not miss.
Yeah, it is amazing. A fun fact, the word Sawduck is from the Quileute tribe, and it is the word that means sparkling water. So it's as close as we could get in English to the Quileutes word for sparkling water. And I would say that that's pretty fitting, don't you think?
Absolutely. It was so beautiful.
Oh.
Right away, it just changes again. We keep talking about every time you go somewhere new, it changes, but we were definitely surprised at how beautiful this place was.
Oh, yeah. I think on this day, it's so funny because we went to Hurricane Ridge first, which felt a little more like Glacier. And then we drove an hour and 42 minutes to an old growth forest that felt more like the rainforest and a mesh between like the huge waterfalls at Glacier, but the forest of the whole rainforest that we had come from. Like 2 totally different places in one day.
It didn't seem like it had the big rivers running through it, but just the same, the water just seemed like it was coming out of the mountains.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. So Sawduck Falls is fed by the Sawduck River. And a fun fact about that is it is one of the only rivers in the Olympic Peninsula that supports all 5 major species of salmon. Now, I can't tell you what the 5 different major species of salmon are, but it's pretty cool that all 5 of them can live in the Sawduck River.
For sure. And right away, we get parked here and get out to start this hike. I can tell you it's more of a rugged hike.
Yes.
Lots of dirt steps. But again, it amazes me how much these people work on this stuff and how they have to hike in and carry their hand tools and things like that. So you start hiking in here and you're on dirt steps for sure, but they're framed, a lot of them by wood. And then a lot of these hikes have to have handrails. So they use the timber in the forest and they build these beautiful log handrails. And just seems like everywhere you go, it's just beautiful. And again, it's rugged, but it's more rugged on the fact of what you're seeing. It's just, they really do a great job. It's hard to describe this place. The pictures do it a lot more justice.
Yeah, and I feel like there were a few more footbridges on this trail than some of the trails that we had previously been on, because there are a lot of creeks just running, like little runoffs running through the trail. And so they've built wooden bridges to help you get over those. And because of that, there are also just little built-in waterfalls everywhere along this trail, which really makes it cool.
Yeah, and they really do blow a lot of water out of there. It's not like a rushing river, but there's just so many of them. And you'll go over a little hilltop and go into another valley, and there's another one, and there's just another one, and there's just another one. So I don't know where all this water's coming from, but it's coming out of everywhere.
Yeah. There are some toilets in the parking area. I'm just going to give you a heads up. They're pit toilets. So if you've spent very much time in the mountains running around, you know all about pit toilets. If you don't, well, let's just say you probably need to experience them at least once in your lifetime.
Yeah.
And you might want to spray yourself with Lysol when you come out of them, but hey, it's a toilet.
And keep in mind, back to the trails here, keep in mind that this is all the coastal stuff. So you're still in that coastal conifer tree stuff. Mm-hmm. And you can really tell. It's almost kind of like you can smell it.
Yes.
They're close.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of moss in the trees down this trail. It's kind of weird because it's not like the Hoh rainforest, like where everything's covered in moss, but there's enough moisture still on this side of the mountain that there's plenty of moss, plenty of old growth conifer trees that are huge all down the trail, enough to make you feel very, very small when you're winding through that trail through those trees.
It felt like to me that all the way back at the top of this trip, and you drive even a couple of hours south toward California, it just seems like to me everything is big up there. All these trees are so big and beautiful, and there's just so many of them. I remember when we left here, kind of getting ahead of myself, we drove for a couple hours. I'm like, we're still in these same trees. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy how the top part of this country, the northwest part of this country, how many trees and how much forest there is up here.
Yeah, it is wild.
But we started it down this hike, having a great time. We come up on this shelter, and we're thinking, what is this shelter doing up here in these mountains? Because I wouldn't say it looks out of place, but this is the first time we've seen a shelter this big.
That's true. And we had to go up and check it out. It was up on a hill from the trail. So you kind of had to walk up to the shelter, but you can't miss it. We were just like, that's weird. What is that? And so we walked up there and found out it is, in fact, the Canyon Creek Shelter, also known as the Sawduck Falls Shelter. And it's a log cabin shelter that was built in 1939. So that's just 1 year after the park was designated a national park. The Civilian Conservation Corps built this shelter in Olympic National Park.
Of course, everything's built with a huge rock, all native rock out of that area. Everything's built with split logs, which is really neat. And I also noticed that they even done the old split shingles. How you take an axe and they would bust a log into shingles. And so the whole thing is just built really, really cool. And again, it's really lasted a long time.
Yeah, it has. Some interesting facts about the Canyon Creek Shelter. It has been recently added to the National Register of Historic Sites, so it is designated a historic site now. Also, there was an information sheet that was just kind of stapled up somewhere on the inside. And it was really neat to read how this shelter came about. And the history of it is just really cool. And I didn't write it all out, but the short version is that it was built to enhance the safety of early park visitors as a place where weary hikers could seek refuge from stormy weather and set up camp for the night. So just think about what this must have looked like back in 1939. or 1940 even, or 1950. If you were traveling as a hiker down those trails, there weren't bridges built and stairs built and all the things that we enjoy today, or even a big old trail like we were in. It was a forest. And so for those people to be in a storm and come up on the shelter and be able to take refuge in there must have been a really big deal.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I mentioned it earlier, there's a lot of work up here, the split logs and the rails and all that kind of stuff and the post. But if you think about it, it's pretty impressive. You hike in with what you're going to do this work with. And so there's no just going back to the truck and getting tools or bringing equipment up here. There's no way you couldn't get a track hoe or a dozer up there probably for nothing. So these people hike in, have to have a place to eat. They have to have a place to sleep. And they work for days on end to build these little things that we enjoy. So this thing, it was a necessity. It's definitely been used.
Yeah, for sure. This is a moderately strenuous hike. I mean...
They say moderately strenuous. I would say moderately to strenuous a little more. It's a hike. You want to plan for this one. You want to have your water on your back. You want to have the snacks. You want to think about this one because once you get in here and you start seeing this, you're not going to want to turn around.
Let's say this one is a very good leg workout.
Yeah, it is.
Because the trail is about 1.8 miles, so right around the 2-mile mark. But on the way down to the falls, it's a slow, steady drop for 2 miles. But what that means is on the way back, it's a slow, steady rise for 2 miles. And 2 miles of just a slow, steady grade, walking up, and sometimes you're using like tree roots for your steps to get up the hills, right?
And you're stepping up on the next little log block step, right? So
yeah.
They're all encased. So it's a little bit like a staircase kind of thing. Plus, there's so much to see. You spend so much time on your feet. It's like, again, not very far, but you'll spend a lot of time in here. I think we probably could spend a half a day in here real easy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the cool thing is, once you get past the shelter, you're not too far from the falls, and you can hear it from there.
Yeah.
And it makes you kind of wonder what in the world it's going to look like when you get down there. And this hike, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's worth it.
I made the comment that it doesn't have rivers and stuff. And what I meant by that was some of the places we've been, the rivers were really wide, deep, and there's just so much water. Well, this is the same thing. It's just more like you'll have a waterfall broken up into 5 streams or something like that, right? It's coming out of the mountains. Mm-hmm. Where it's not so much of like a falls. It's more like a whole bunch of little falls coming together. So it's still very loud. It's still, I mean, you can hear it, like you said, for a long ways off. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, and the drop on this falls is pretty decent. And it kind of funnels down to this rock chasm that has cut into the sandstone and runs under a big, very, very sturdy bridge that they have built down there.
To me, it looked like a fist. Mm-hmm. And the water was coming out between each finger.
Yeah, that is what it looks like.
It just makes it's just a different look.
Yeah, like the rock makes a fist.
Still that's a lot of water. It's just coming out differently.
In 3 different spots or 4 different spots, and then all ending up under this bridge. It is very powerful when all those 3 streams come together at the bottom, and then it funnels into that narrow space and then out into a wider creek. So it's just pretty wild.
I'm impressed by the way they built these bridges, these big log bridges, and the way they kind of, I don't know what you call it, like a dowel style, put things together. Mm-hmm. A lot of work.
Yeah, it's just amazing. When you do get down here, you're going to get wet because the mist coming off of that waterfall is intense. And the way it hits all into that small spot and then funnels through, I don't know what it is about it, but it just splashes the mess out of that bridge. Of course, it was a whole lot of fun for a lot of the kids that were playing on the bridge and running back and forth on the bridge. But it's fun to know that you're going to get wet when you get down there. If you cross the bridge and go over to the other side, there's actually a couple of benches over there, and we sat on a bench and ate a snack before we headed back to walk up that 2-mile grade back to the car.
You know, we went back and looked and watched some videos of some others put together that had been there late July, August, stuff like that. These things were still running. They're still beautiful. But it seems like that June time frame when we go, it's perfect because all the snow melt, all that kind of stuff, everything's still rushing. It's just really, really pretty. I don't think you'll be disappointed either time. Mm-hmm. But I kind of like the early season when it's just, you want to hit it right. You don't want it to be cold, but you want it to be cool, and you want lots of water. So
yeah, I think that there was quite a bit of humidity on this trail, I remember. I think we started off with rain jackets and then ended up putting them in the pack. And then when we got down to the bridge, maybe getting them back out. But between the walking and the humidity, it was plenty warm for shorts and just a short sleeve shirt for us that day.
we talk about this a lot, but I tell you, I can't live without my hiking shoes. I can't live without those padded socks, and can't live without my little pack. Of course, everybody packs water in those packs. I pack tea because I'm kind of addicted to tea. But, a snack, having something to drink, good shoes, because we crossed, I don't know how many small little streams getting to this point. So you're really hiking. And that's the fun of it, but you're really hiking. I mean, this is not like a walk down by the lake. I mean, it's sure enough a hike. And I liked up here too. I talk about this a lot, but I've got that walking stick. And it just kind of helps me. Like if you have a catch in your back or something like that, or you stumble, this is a hike you should probably prepare for a little bit, and you'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, your walking stick was such a great purchase for this particular road trip because we did so much hiking and it got a lot of use.
Of course, I have my bear whistle on there too, and a compass, which I don't know how to read, but it's I just think that a little bit of precaution here. You want to be light. That's another thing. All this stuff as light as you can get it. It doesn't have to be crazy. And then I was thinking we also put a little bit of medicine in the pack, a little bit of first aid stuff, just something really light, but just something to have. Stumble and hit your knee real hard, or, kick a rock real hard and I don't know, cut your toe open or something like that. It'd be nice to have something because it is a pretty good ways back in these places.
Yeah, and if anybody's going to fall down, it's going to be me.
Some pain medicine or something like that. So.
Remember at Yellowstone when we were walking back down that wide open trail that was like 5 feet wide, and the one wash in the road I stepped in and started going down? I did such a great job saving the big lens and camera that day.
Yeah.
But my knees and elbows were all bleeding.
I don't think anybody should be scared of these places for sure. And we sure don't want to make them sound dangerous, but a little precaution goes a long ways. It's no different than a fishing trip or anything else, right? Don't ruin your day over something silly.
For sure. And we didn't see any big animals on this trail. Lots of squirrels, lots of chipmunks in those areas. But as far as big animals are concerned, we didn't even see any on the Sawduck Falls Trail.
Some of these are so steep that you're just not going to see quite as many. It's more about the trees and stuff like that. And then a lot of times, keep in mind too, about this time of year, they love these valleys and places. So they're feeding, right? It's summer. They're eating. So you're not always going to see animals in the middle of the day on any of these trails.
Yep. So Sawduck Falls, definitely we rank up there as one of our favorite hikes in all of Olympic National Park that we got to go to. Definitely check it out if you get to spend some time at Olympic.
When we go back, if we only have a day, this will be where we hike.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There are some other things to do in the Sawduck area. There are some hot springs in that area, and the Sawduck Hot Springs Resort is where you go to enjoy those. We did not go to the hot springs while we were there, but I did look up a little bit of information for you just in case you're into that kind of thing. There are 3 natural mineral hot springs in the Sawduck Hot Springs Resort. They vary in temperature from 99 to 104 degrees, and they also vary in size. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to go with kids, you probably need to get out on the Sawduck Resort website and look at the table that tells you what ages can go into which springs and those types of things, because there was some stuff out there about ages. I think I've got a link and I'll drop it in the show notes for you to this Sawduck Resort. They also have a freshwater pool, which is just a swimming pool as well. It says that the temperatures range in that pool from 50 degrees to 85 degrees, and that's dependent on the weather. So depending on what time of year you go, in early June, that swimming pool might still be pretty cold. I don't know if I'm going to be swimming in any 50-degree water.
No, not at all. But I will tell you that one of my favorite things is to go up here and sit down and get something to drink or something to eat, kick my shoes off and stick them in this water, just kind of cool your feet.
Yeah.
It feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the hot springs, but I kind of like that part of it.
Yeah, I don't know about the hot springs either.
I've seen the Vacation movie, and I just feel like I'm not taking any chances. But no, these are probably beautiful places. We just haven't went.
Yeah, and there is a cost associated with using the hot springs, and I'll put a link in the show notes for you. If you're staying at the resort, you can enjoy the hot springs for free, and you can check that out if you need lodging. It would be probably a good place to stay in that Salduck Falls area. Just a couple more things before we wrap up today. Dogs are welcome in some parts of Olympic National Park, and that is directly off the National Park Service website. So if you want to take your dog to the park, or if you travel with your pet, you're going to want to make sure you go check out their bark rules and look for the places where your pet is going to be able to get out of the car and onto the trail, because I can tell you that not all trails are pet friendly. So I'm going to drop a link in the show notes for you so you can go check out the Olympic National Park dog rules or pet rules, and that way you'll know where they can go and where they can't go and those types of things. After we left, we went over to Port Angeles City Pier. If you were listening to episode 8, you heard us refer to that pier last time. And I don't know if it's just because we already knew how to get down there or what, but we went back.
We were divided on where we were going to eat the first time we went.
Yes.
And so there was the second place this time. We said, hey, we're going to go back and we're going to go to Rail Burger. We're going to have a burger.
Yes, we did. So there's a little burger joint down in Port Angeles by the city pier. It's across from the wharf, and it's called The Rail. This is a town built around a lot of railroad history. So when you get downtown, like there's a statue to the railroad worker that we talked about in episode 8. And there's this The Rail burger joint, which is really cool.
Yeah, so about anything you want to eat's down here. Also, just walking down the port's really neat. To see, kind of all the different marine stuff and the marine life and the boats coming and going. And so it was really pretty cool place to see. It is a good place to go, though, where there's a central parking area there that you paid parking, and then you can pretty much walk to anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, it's a good place. All right, so after that, we took off back to the KOA. It was laundry night, and the guys liked the game room with the pool table there. That game room was pretty cool. You and Weston spent some time playing pool in the evenings when we got back from our hikes.
Yeah, it was a fun place to be.
It was. And then Traveling Scout, those of you who have been on this journey with us, you know that's our Jack Russell Terrier, and he travels with us. He has his own hashtag, so if you want to look him up, that's hashtag Traveling Scout. He was ready for a real walk because he had been in the van all day today and in and out on very, very short walks in different parking lots, but he was ready to go for a real walk around the KOA. So we did that. After all that, we got rested up for the next day because it was going to be a big drive day.
Be sure to join us next week for episode 10 as we head down the gorgeous Oregon Highway 101, also known as Pacific Coast Highway.
Mm-hmm. The Oregon coast is beautiful.
Yeah, we found a few surprises along the way.
We did.
We met some folks that had a van like ours.
Yep.
And we got to talk to them and see how they like it. And there's a few things I was trying to repair that I had to ask someone if it actually worked on theirs, and it did.
Right.
So that got me all fired up. So now we're back on a drive, going to do a few repairs, and we're going to get ready to see the Oregon coast.
And that reminds me, whenever we get finished recapping this 2024 summer road trip, we were going to do an episode on different things that we learned about the van.
Yeah, just little repairs, things that you don't always know. Most of these rigs are a little bit complex to work on. Now, I'd mentioned that I was fairly handy, and I spend a lot of time on YouTube, of course, to get it all repaired. But there'll be a few things we can probably save some folks some headache later, depending on what rig you're driving. But the vans and the lithium packages and the way they're supposed to work and some of those things, it's a little new, but we can probably save folks some headaches.
Yeah, and I guess we can go ahead and let the cat out of the bag because we need to do this van episode before we forget. And why would we forget about the van, Charlie?
Yeah, so I finally got the van completely working. Everything about it's fixed. I know it in my sleep. And we messed around and traded it. We went from about a 21-foot van, I believe it was.
Yep.
It was a Thor van with a lithium package. Mm-hmm. It had what they call a wet bath, all that. And we've traded up. So we've bought a fifth wheel.
Yep.
And after months and months and months and months of research, and I basically just tried to write down all the things that's ever went out on me in any other rigs. And I'd done the YouTube research on how to fix them before we bought it this time. So we bought a Brinkley. We bought one of the Z3100 series of Brinkleys. And we think we're really going to love it. So we messed with it here just a little bit. You know, I'm really torn. I don't know about you, but I love the van. It was so easy. I could pull into a campsite or a Walmart or anything, and it was so easy. But we've decided to go with what they call kind of a mid-sized fifth wheel here. And so more to come on that. We're going to take it out on a few little short trips and prepare before we start our big trip this June. So more to come. We've kind of owned three now, right? So we've owned a really big fifth wheel, and then we've owned the van, and now we've owned what I would say probably a mid-sized fifth wheel. The first fifth wheel we had was 43 feet.
Yeah.
And this one's 35.
Yeah.
So maybe we got some good tips for all three of those.
Yeah.
And, you know, we even built some at one time. You remember the cargo trailer build?
Oh, yeah.
We built some in horse trailers. And so we've got a lot of experience, and maybe there's some things we can share that help folks along the way to make their choice, or even choose or repair what they currently have.
Yeah, for sure. So stay tuned if you're a Brinkley fan. We are going to be letting you know everything we think about the Brinkley. And the reason we did that is because we're thinking about retirement travel coming up in the next few years. And we just kind of wanted to put ourselves in a position to be ready for that. And for everything we love about the van, space is a luxury when you might be staying in it for long periods of time.
I would love to have both,
Oh,
right?
me
It
too.
would be really cool to have the van for those 4 or 5 day trips. It'd be awesome. And then have the fifth wheel for others. But of course we had to choose. So
yeah,
retirement's coming. Full-time RV life is coming. We've sold our home. We've sold everything pretty much that we own, and we're going to make this happen. So we're going to be one of those full-time people that we hear so much about.
Yeah, for sure. That's the plan. So I would say that a lot of toil went into the purchase of this Brinkley because we were buying our next house.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we were doing.
Yeah. So we're excited about it, and more to come on that if you guys hang with us, because who knows, we do crazy stuff. But
we might even add in there some of the stuff we've learned about working full-time in our rig. What can you do for full-time? How can you make some money once you retire? So how can you make your expenses less? And so we've done at least 2 years of just solid research. So we haven't actually done it yet, so we can't talk up from an authoritative position, but we can say, hey, we've done a lot of research.
That's true. We are looking into it. We're hoping to make it all work. And we just knew that the van probably wasn't the right rig for us for that time in our life, and we're kind of getting ready for that. At the same time, I think there are things that we're going to miss about it, especially the convenience. But stay tuned. Who knows? We do get a full-size bed now.
My problem is I like them all.
I do too.
So
I do too. Well, that's going to do it for episode 9 of Highways and Hilltops. Thanks for riding along with us. Maybe we'll see you somewhere down the road.
see you on episode 10.
Until next time, we hope you get to go explore something fun this week. Bye.